Hey everybody, welcome back to a North Texas Weather Center forecast, and today what we're going over is that tornado outbreak potential for later this afternoon into the evening hours. We have a new update from the Storm Prediction Center indicating a new moderate risk of severe weather across portions of Wisconsin later this afternoon, and there is now a significant chance for several tornadoes, which a few could be strong, so you need to make sure you take those proper precautions this afternoon. The latest timing and everything that you need to know is in this forecast. Let's get right into it. So here's a look at that damaging wind potential for today, which is also very significant. You can see that purple area representing almost a 50% probability within a 25-mile radius of damaging winds as high as 80 to 85 miles per hour. So we're expecting numerous storms to produce the potential for high damaging winds. Here's a look at the tornado outlook. So now we have a new red shaded region. Now you don't usually see this that often unless it's an actual tornado outbreak. And this is basically the area where we have a 15% probability within a 25-mile radius of a tornado. So we could very well see several tornadoes across this entire yellow and red shaded area that includes, again, far northeastern Iowa into a large portion of Wisconsin, and the hatched region is going to represent your EF2 plus potential for tornadoes. So we could see very well a few strong tornadoes out of these storms later this afternoon. So definitely keep that in mind. Here's a look at the moderate risk overall. This is just a look at the entire United States, but you can see the moderate risk as of right now is basically centered in central and southern portions of Wisconsin today. Look at the timing this afternoon. So we'll start to see storms fire up primarily around 2 to 4 o'clock, as early as then in central time. Eventually by 4 o'clock, storms will start to fire up in western portions of Wisconsin. Again, these storms will have the potential to start developing a tornado threat. The tornado threat will likely peak sometime between about 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock. That's when I'm expecting the greatest tornado threat. Stevens Point around 5 o'clock, starting to see storms by 6. You can start to see it's pretty much a line of storms at this point. Now, the tornado threat with a line of storms usually isn't that high, but since we have such a strong low-level jet today and strong low-level shear, it's going to equivalent to a much higher tornado threat overall. By about 7 o'clock, those storms are moving into eastern portions of Wisconsin, areas like Green Bay, and eventually into far northern Michigan. By 8 to 9 o'clock, the storms will likely be moving through Milwaukee, so Milwaukee could definitely see potential for maybe some large hail, damaging winds, or a low-end tornado threat. And eventually by about 10 to 11 o'clock, most of those storms will move into Michigan, and eventually by going to early tomorrow morning, those storms will eventually kind of start moving toward New York, where the next severe weather threat will exist. Here's a look at the timing down in Illinois, because there will actually be storms back down to the southwest, slightly lower threat overall, marginal or slight risk. See by 9 to 10 o'clock, a lot of storms from Davenport down to the southwest into far northern Missouri. Eventually by midnight to 1 o'clock, these storms will be fairly slow moving, so we're not expecting a whole lot in terms of a fast moving system down this way, but we definitely will see a potential for some damaging winds or large hail with a couple of storms. Also down in Missouri and eastern Kansas, 7 to 8 o'clock, we'll start to see some storms fire up from, again, as far south as Kansas City. We'll have a potential for maybe some low-end severe weather threats. By 9 to 10 o'clock, again, very slow-moving storms. Eventually by 1 to 2 in the morning, storms may be still ongoing near Columbia, but other than that, these are primarily just going to be producing damaging winds or some large hail. Very low-end tornado threat with those storms. Here's a look at the low-level jet for the setup, by the way. We're expecting these yellows and reds representing a fairly strong low-level jet, and again, that's where the storms are going to be firing up. So this area here is, again, the greatest tornado threat from potentially as far north as, or south, as far northern Illinois into areas like southern Wisconsin. Those seem to be actually potentially the greatest threats this afternoon. Again, the low-level jet will start to move off to the east in terms of where that next severe weather threat will occur. Here's a look at the tornado parameter as well. You can see that the tornado parameter is showing pretty high values, 2 to 3 across the areas where the greatest tornado threat will occur. Again, I'm actually expecting the greatest tornado threat to potentially be in far southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois this afternoon. That's kind of why I'm forecasting. Again, the Storm Prediction Center keeping a bit farther north, but definitely either way, you should be prepared for a tornado threat regardless today. Here's a quick look, by the way, for tomorrow's severe weather outlook in terms of the New England and northeast, area. Anywhere in New York as well as Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Ohio have a slight risk of severe weather. Otherwise, a marginal risk does extend down into the Carolinas. Here's a look at that tornado threat for tomorrow, and that's why I'm mentioning this. There is going to be a tornado threat tomorrow across New York and Pennsylvania. We may go live for this event, by the way. Just a little quick look at the timing tomorrow. It looks like most of these storms will fire up during the early afternoon hours and move off to the east. It seems like it'll just be an afternoon threat. We're not looking at an evening or overnight threat by any means. There will be some showers and storms after, sunset, but they will not likely be severe. All right, stay updated again with North Texas Weather Center for the latest. Make sure to hit the like button down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. This forecast is brought to you by Platinum Contracting, All Dents Repair, and Patriot Safe Rooms.